do a moment of silence for a prayer. Today, I'm going to dedicate that prayer to Gino Franciscone. He was a police chief of Elizabeth Township, and he was the former president of the Board of Commissioners. He passed away last week. So after we're done doing the pledge of allegiance, if you could just give a short prayer for his family, I would very much appreciate that. So now we can stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
Commissioner Walk? Here. Commissioner Bedwood? Here. Commissioner Blake?
Here.
Commissioner Evans?
Here.
Commissioner Rogers?
Here.
President Kuzma?
Here.
There was an executive session held prior to this meeting to discuss personnel matters.
We're going to do the department reports. We'll start out with code enforcement.
Nothing outside of my written report.
Engineer.
Thank you. I've circulated a written report, just a couple of updates on the sewer project. We did submit the permits to the Trail Commission. We received several comments back, which we did answer to them in late February, and then we've received nothing further. There's also been a request from DEP for some additional information, and we're in the process of responding to that. Also on the sewer side, we're working on the annual Chapter 94 report, which will be submitted by the March 31st deadline. And then on the township side, the only thing I would bring up tonight for direction is the Circle Drive project, which was several months ago. We had provided a recommendation, and there was some discussion whether the Public Works would do it, and if so, we would have to acquire easements and proceed with some legal work as well.
You're okay with the public works on that project?
You know, I answer that. Last year, I was okay with a lot of jobs, but then I was handling a lot more. And that, you know, with the asphalt and that, and I don't know what's coming up yet, but I got after somebody.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's something that needs done.
Okay, but I mean, it just,
The whole purpose is, Jake, we don't want to spend like that huge amount of money to put it out, but.
and I'm not even sure what spending on it. I never looked at his plans or anything. I don't even know.
Well, I think there's, don't you need easements or something?
Yeah, I think what we can do is, because we will have to get easements, regardless of whether it's bid out or the Public Works does it, we're gonna have to do an alignment, and put some, design together. So we could proceed with that and get the easements and then decide at that time, depending on the Public Works schedule, as well as the final design, whether or not we bid it out. But that work can proceed.
Yeah, and I know Andrew had this discussion before, we talked about it, I mean, the timetable isn't a factor, it's the cost that's more the factor, you know, and that's, because what was it, like $140,000, I mean, it's our water, no, that was the bid it out, I think, but, do you need authorization from the board, Brian, or do you need for the easements? Matt?
It's covered under my retainers, there's no extra cost to do the legal work, I don't know if we have any extra cost that we will authorize. I would put something together, I have to look at how many easements it'll be, probably not. If it turns into a big project and we have to put together plans and specs, then, yes. So we can just do a consensus, everyone's okay with that, we'll move forward.
I have one question. What's going on with Rock Run Road? Because I asked you about the issues that have happened over there. I don't know where we're at with that.
The storm sewer project,
Yeah.
or we were going back and forth with the Conservation District and DEP on permitting for both that and Mansfield. We ran into some issues where their interpretations of the permits required are greater than what we thought. I will provide an answer as to the status of those permits when I look into it tomorrow.
We have a state official here that I think can help, so. Okay, we'll go over to police.
Sorry, I'm a late substitution. I didn't get the report till last year's press.
here for protection. Okay, Public Works.
There's a couple of things I told you today, the new truck is in, and, we're within our salt quota so far. I'm sorry, I can't see when I'm writing, I'm putting glasses on. And one thing I wanted to say, I told you on the phone that, the windstorm had blew a big hole in the salt bin roof. It is unrepairable. Anywhere in that roof, you can go over and push your finger through it. And, we're gonna have to do something with it, because we're gonna start losing salt. And I don't know, you know, it's gotta be with the roof, it's been falling down anyhow, we got patches over top of patches on that.
Something I think you ought to look into, if you get on the way to pass their municipal building, they just got a new one, and it's like a vinyl cover, but it looks
Well,
good.
that's, we're trying here on that.
So maybe go down the way though, and see what they have.
Yeah, we provided pricing and memos and several times, and it hasn't moved forward, so if you give me direction, I'll do whatever you want, but.
Okay, good.
There's holes in the floor too, I mean, there's some things, the concrete's going up. I'm sure it can be repaired, but it doesn't, that can't be.
Everything else going good?
Yeah.
Solicitor?
Nothing other than that is discussed in executive session.
Okay, sanitary.
Thank you. You all have my written report here. Just a couple of highlights. We treated 60 million gallons of sewage per month. So that made our average flow of 2.1 million gallons. Typically, one of our peak flows is a very high flow month. Through all that, we managed to keep the plant in full level this time.
Thank you. Before we do a presentation, I'd like to invite our state representative to come up and say a couple words. Mike Piscary.
Just want to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak with you here today. Again, just wanted to thank you all for the opportunity to represent you here in Harrisburg. But also wanted to give you a little bit of an update legislatively. Right now, the Appropriations Committee is going through their hearing process. They should be wrapping those up this week. So we're looking forward to getting back to Harrisburg and getting through that budget process. That's really where we get to the nuts and bolts about what we can get done with the community. So we're looking forward to seeing what that brings. But hopefully, like I said, we'll be able to bring back some roadway funding, some branch projects as well. Also want to give everybody an update. Harry Falk from Elizabeth Township is our office manager. So if you folks ever reach out to our office, know that you got one of our own that will be answering the phone, helping you out as well. But our office is always open, so if you ever need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
We all wish you the best of luck in Harrisburg, and anything that the board can do for you, pick up the phone. Now we'll go over to our investment group, Ray Lamb.
You know, I'm going to actually speak from here so you can see the screen. I hope I'm loud enough. Typically I am. I'm hoping all of you do not come for our presentation, okay? It's good, but it isn't that good. If I get right now. First, we want to thank Elizabeth for the opportunity to serve you. And so we're going to go over a couple items. We presented this to the board a week ago, and they asked us to come in. And so we'll give two time frames, one ending January 31st, and then the other one through February the 28th. And so a little bit about we're going to go with the firm update and overview, performance update and portfolio composition, and then a review of the investment approach, and then the commissioners can ask us any questions that they want. Who we are, we're Rayland Asset Management. We're a global firm. Our primary is Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia. Our real sweet spot, truthfully, is municipalities, small to medium size. Even though when you look at our customer list, we do represent the city of Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, Beaver, Westmoreland County. So it's pretty extensive. This is just a little history for the commissioners to look at. It is really Rayland's view of where they came from and where they are today. So it's a history and a background. The important part really is the depth of our bench. And one of the reasons why we teamed together with Rayland is it gave us a much deeper bench from a research standpoint and from a management standpoint. We probably have one of the strongest benches for a small firm. They're all PhDs, CFAs, MBAs, and our investment portfolio is very strong. One of the things prior to this, some people asked, Scott Dooley, who represents the U.S., okay, and he's actually in our London office this week, or he'll be here this evening. He has a backup, and so it's a little deeper for him. And so we wanted you to realize that our bench is fairly deep, and it is now worldwide. We're looking to deliver these capabilities, and I'm going to have to read from here. You know, we have a long history of investment management. Internally, Scott's been doing it for 28 years. Myself has been 6 years, but we typically run pension funds. This is a little different on this side. We started a short-term government bond strategy that, as you're going to see, has been very effective for Elizabeth Township. And we're trying to build a portfolio that is meaningful to our clients specifically. So that's kind of what that goes over. Here is where our offices are. The U.S. Pittsburgh is the headquarters for the entire global for asset management. We have offices in LA, London, Beijing, Hangzhou, Taipei, and Hong Kong. And so it is a worldwide, which changes us a lot, okay, in what we're able to offer. But we, from a pension side, very different than here, okay, what we're doing is we invest in a lot of emerging markets, and this gives us the capability of having research from a variety of areas. Just a little background, as you guys have looked at, is a bio on Scott Dooley, our portfolio manager. Scott is a graduate of the University of Chicago, one of the leading MBA programs for finance. He has an undergraduate from Grove City and a vast knowledge from portfolio management. Scott is the person that makes every decision on the portfolio and the changes we make on it. So we just want to make sure you're aware of that. The next two are myself and David, and we head up the government service side. So we typically are the people that service your account and the day-to-day issues or problems that might arise that people have. Our current allocation, if we look at that, it's a little bit on, I'm going to grab this so I can just move ahead. What we were asked to do is do a short-term government bond strategy. It's extremely risk averted. There's very little risk involved in it whatsoever. And what we did is we compared it to all government-backed bonds. So what you have is treasury bonds are 95.1%, and then the money market is 4.9%. And the money market is basically set up for cash that they'll need as the engineer requires money for the project. On an asset category, it's 95.1% in bonds, and again, 4.7% in the money market. Looking at, we're going to show two slides on performance. One is through inception through 1/31/19, okay? And there's been some questions on it. Your return, we said that we would give a return of 1%. And just so you know, this money was with a bank prior to this, averaging about $700 a year as a return or, let's say, profit for it. In this case, when you look at the end of January, we're going to go over January and February. For the January, minus our fees, it was $102,242.58. And that return was 1.25% gross, net 0.99, and our target was 1%. If you jump to the last month, okay, it actually came down to $151,550.97 was the total return. Out of that was $46,686 since inception, which would have been an engineer, the type of projects that go on for the sewer, I guess for your upgrade to the plant there. And then our fees through the end of December were $26,164 for an ending balance or positive $125,386.61. So for 9.5 months, what we have returned to this is $125,381 and some change. That was a return of 1.4% net, gross, and net after our fees was a 1.17, substantially, above what we needed to perform on it. So does anyone have any questions at that point from any of the commissioners on anything here?
So the only, yeah, I have a question. First, I just want to clarify that we went from $700 to $125,000, so that's good. Second question is, how much risk is there? Because I had residents after the last commissioner meeting come up to me and ask me, well, you have 11 million invested, can that go down to 10 million or 9 million, or how risky is it? Like, how much do we lose?
There's very little risk, okay? They're in U.S. Treasury notes, okay? So it's backed by the U.S. government. They're the least, most risk-averse thing that you can invest in, okay? And it specifically says, we've talked to BNY Mellon, is who holds the bond. They authorize what we're permitted, and by the township code, there's only specific things that we can invest in. So I don't know how you would lose that type of money, okay? Unless there was some kind of real crisis in America to doing it. So it's as you can see, if you look at the next slide, it's a listing of everything that's all U.S. Treasury bonds, backed by the U.S. government.
The only way we have risk is to redeem a bond prior to maturity and the market. We go have to go on the market. We could either make money or lose money.
Okay, you wouldn't do that because what we have done is the engineer, we staggered it, okay? And so you know.
We should not have to. We should not have to.
Let's
do anything before we mature.
And actually, what they gave us was a list of proposed that for the first 0 to 6 months, that they would need $75,000, okay? Now, this is 9.5 months, and we've used a total of $46,000, okay? So, and then the next 12 months, he's saying that they would need $425,000, and 12 to 18 would be the remainder. If anything, what we want to do is to look at meeting with the engineer to restructure this so that we can invest it. Fortunately, what we have in cash is in the money market that is producing very, very well. So it's not been a negative for you, but we would not have to redeem because we've staggered it based on the information coming from your engineer based on the needs of it for the plant. So at this point, it'd be like if you finish the project tomorrow, we might have an issue, but since you're not, we don't have to worry about it. And we monitor this on a constant.
You wanted a discount, didn't you?
What?
You wanted a discount, didn't you say 95?
No, I said 95% of them are
okay.
bonds.
You
Yeah.
didn't buy it.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Okay? So, again, you'll look at the original cash receipt, the project, and how it's spaced out. It would be difficult for me to believe that out of any terms that we'd ever have to cash in a bond or ever.
Thank you, George.
Is there any other questions? Okay, again, we thank you. We're going to meet with Brian to try to come up a little bit better on determining our needs for the next year, and then we'll bring that to council, the commissioners here to vote on.
Hey, George.
Will this presentation be available on your website?
We don't make our presentations available on the website.
Because it's hard to read those numbers. I have a copy of it.
I have a copy of that.
You would have to go to, we don't make presentations to the public. I mean, it's actually for the commissioners. They can offer it to whoever wants it.
I have a copy of it.
We can get you one here.
Thank you, George. Sure. Someone get the lights on the back, please. Thank you. Okay, here's the big one. Items for discussion. An energy sewer agreement, $25 million payment to the sanitary fund. The County and sewage customer of approximately 59.
You were filming us, I just, yeah.
Minimum $100,000 yearly tax payment. to the
I know, I was just asking for it.
Minimum
Just as a citizen,
$350,000
yeah, okay.
tax payment.
We just ask that all the time. Yeah.
Reconstructing and paving Forest Hill Road, constructing 4 baseball fields and 1 soccer field in Smithfield. $50,000 contribution to the township for demo of light in Smithfield. Donation of $100,000 to each township fire department. $70,000 donation to the school district, and a $1.5 million severance fee if the project fails to be constructed within 5 years. So, if you don't mind, I have some notes that I'd like to share with you all. I mean, I've been able to speak with a few different people on different occasions, but I'd like to address everyone in the room on Invenergy, what I know. I'll answer any questions that anyone has, everything that's transpired over the past 5 years. So, whenever I took office 4 years ago, I was given a call by a man by the name of Nick Conn. It was about a week after I took office. He told me that they were investigating putting a power plant on the township on the Fury property. So one of my experts that I go to all the time, his name is Bob Kiefer. He's an engineer and he's a former commissioner for Elizabeth Township in my district. So I met with Invenergy. I took Bob Kiefer along. We met at Purgatory down at the waterfront, and Bob Kiefer paid for he and I. All it was an informational meeting to figure out what this company was about, what they wanted to do in the township, and what type of scope this was going to be. Eventually, as you guys know, the Fury property didn't pan out. The one thing that he and I conveyed to them was this: we don't accept any type of shakedowns, bribes, nothing like that. We told them, if anyone tries to shake you down, if anyone asks you for a penny, if anyone asks you for a yard sign, I want you to call me right away. And a year later, there was an instance of that. I'm not going to say who, but they're no longer in the township. I'll just leave it at that. 5 years later, it comes to Smithfield, we voted on it. You guys know which ones did, which ones didn't. That's fine. A week after we voted on it, I heard from credible sources in Ross Draver and Forward Township that Invenergy toured sites across the Westmoreland County line in Ross Draver and one site in Forward Township. If we did not vote for the power plant in Smithfield, which is right next to the Westmoreland County line, it would have went the following week over the boundary outside of Elizabeth Township and into Ross Draver or into Forward Township. There's professionals in Ross Draver that told me that, and I've heard from township officials in Forward Township that told me that. They were begging for it. So if we did not approve it in Smithfield, the residents of Smithfield, the residents of Elizabeth Township would still be impacted by it across the Westmoreland County line, but the township would get no benefit whatsoever, and there's nothing that we could do about it. Now, some people have said to me that, oh, if it would have went over there, we would have fought it over there. Well, guess what? You fought it here, and it didn't work there. So try Tom DeRosa in Forward Township, he'd throw you on jail. So I'll leave that there. About a month after we voted on Invenergy, Bill Stig, their council, called Matt Rakunas and said, okay, we want to sit down, we want to have a serious discussion about a host agreement, we want to be good neighbors, we want to get back to the township. So they requested that they meet with the president of the board, which is me, and the president of the school district, which is Tom Sharkey, and Matt. There were 3 attorneys, I should say 2 attorneys and 1 engineer from Chicago that came in. They sat down at the table and they said that they would like to give the township $7 million and $53,000 a year in taxes. I told them that after a 5-year journey, after everything that this township's been through, after terrorizing everyone, $7 million is a joke. I said, it's totally unacceptable. I told them, they said, well, what do you need? What do you want? I said, listen, our sanitary system is defunct. Our township is on the verge of raising taxes because of infrastructure issues like Forest Hill Road, everything else. But we're failing in the recreation area. We're failing all across the board. I said, if you don't at least come to the cost of the Act 537 plan and extra, go to Forward Township, forget it. We'll fight you tooth and nail on the land development plan, on everything. All the permits, everything. I said, just go somewhere else. We went back and forth for I don't know how many weeks. They came up, they went from 7 million to 12. Then they went from 12 million to 19. Then they went to 21. Then they said, okay, not to exceed 25. Now we're at our max. Our Act 537 plan is gonna cost $21 million. There's a 5% margin of error for fluctuation in costs. The only alternative to finishing the Act 537 plan would be to raise our sewage rates to around $80 a month, or sell the system to Pennsylvania American Water. And I asked Dennis O, what's the regional sewage bill per month of being American in this region?
$81 a month for 6,000 gallons.
6,000 gallons, $81 a month. Right now, the minimum is $42 a month. Now, you are all aware, and all the commissioners are aware, that whenever Waste Management raised their rates across the board for the entire cost, people went picketing in the streets. There are people in this township that can't afford to pay another $5 a month. That's what that's what I hear. You don't get an increase in Social Security. You never get a reduction in school tax. That goes up all the time. You'll never get a reduction in township taxes. So number one, if we did not vote for that plan in Smithfield, it would go right over the line. Everyone else would be impacted by it, but we would get nothing. And secondly, if we did not get this agreement, our sewage rates would double to $80 a month, or we would have to sell to PM American. 10 years from now, our rates would be over $100, $100 a month, $120 a month. Here's what this $25 million is going to do, because we just met with our bond counsel. He communicated to us how big of an impact this money has. By the time we're done with our Act 537 plan, sending our solution to Keysport, we'll be $40 million in debt. If we put this $25 million towards the sanitary debt, we will be able to have the debt paid off in less than 10 years, and our sewage rates will go from $42 down to $20 a month on average. Now, how many times do you hear taxes going down, school taxes going down, anything? Everything goes up. Gas, water, electric, everything goes up. This plan is going to put our sanitary system in a financially stable state. We will be able to pay off the debt in 10 years, never increase rates, and after 10 years, lower the rates from $42 a month down to $20 a month. Now, there's 4 commissioners that voted for this, okay? And we've all been attacked. There's an individual that's trying to get me thrown out of law school. There's another individual that's taking pictures of me walking into my house, and I'll walk in the streets of Pittsburgh, there's people taking pictures of me. It's been totally insane. But I don't do what I think is politically correct, what will benefit me politically. I do what I know is best for this township. It would have been politically sounding for me to just sit back, vote no, have everyone think that I look good, I look like such a great person, and that'd be fine, especially during an election year. But guess what? If that power plant would have went to Ross Draver Township, right over the West Warren County line, and this township would have gotten nothing, and I would have been forced to raise sewage rates, I would have went through the roof. So yes, I understand before all you speak about Invenergy that it's not the greatest thing in the world. We all want something for free that we're not going to get. You have to crack some eggs to make an omelet. I understand. But the main thing that you people need to know is that we did not have a choice, because if we didn't put it in Smithfield, it would have went over the West Warren County line. It still would have been in Smithfield, but outside of the township boundary. And secondly, we're going to be lowering our sewage rates from $42 a month down to $20 after 10 years. They're never going to raise. If you look at the second bullet point, they're going to become a sewage customer of approximately 59 ADUs. Now, to have a legal contract, you need to have a little bit of give on both sides. It's called consideration. If we didn't give them anything back, it would just be a gift, and a gift isn't a contract. So if we go to court and sue for it, we won't get anything. In return for this $25 million, they are asking that the township run a sewer line from the Sutersville Bridge into Smithfield, and so that they can tap in and deposit 18,000 gallons per day into our sewage system. That project is going to cost $1.3 million. The township's going to be able to recoup that on a tap-in fee, because if you multiply 59 ADUs by what we would get, it would pay for that line. Now, something else I want to communicate along with that. They are depositing their sewage into the sewage system. They are not taking any water out of the river. They are not putting any water into the river. They are purchasing their water from Pennsylvania American Water, they're selling it, or they're disposing of it in Elizabeth Township system, and paying us to treat it every month. So it's added financial benefit to the sewage system. On top of that, we're getting tax payments to the township, tax payments to the school district. I've been told, whenever I ask people in the township, okay, if we deny this power plant, what's your plan? How are we gonna be able to sustain ourselves? I don't wanna become Duquesne, I don't wanna become a Keysport, I don't wanna become anything else. What do you do? And people come to me and they say, well, on the Castora property and the Fiore property, why don't you build $1 million homes? And that'll pay for all of our issues. Well, guess what? We don't have sewage on the Castora property or the Fiore property. We don't have the desire for anyone to build on a junkyard or a toxic waste dump. So yes, this isn't the ideal thing, but the main thing that you people need to know, we didn't have a choice. And secondly, these benefits are enormous, and they're probably the biggest financial benefit that this township has ever seen. On top of that, there's an individual in the back who's my best friend, Emerson Dainty. He's always complaining about Forest Hill Road. We do not have $500,000 to pay at Forest Hill Road. It keeps slipping and falling off. They are taking care of that, and they said that they'll build it back to better than how it ever was. We're always complaining about lack of recreation in this township. They're willing to construct 4 baseball fields and a soccer field. They offered to put them in Smithdale, and they offered an estimated figure of about $1.8 million that it would cost to do that. If the people in Smithdale don't want it, we can move it somewhere else. $50,000 contribution to the township for demo of light in Smithdale. There are homes down there that people are selling drugs out of. There are feral cats and everything else. With this plan, they're gone. Obviously, having a power plant in the township it can present a safety concern because we're dealing with natural gas. They're giving $100,000 to each fire department in exchange for any issue that they might ever have. Now, something that I want to communicate to anyone in the room and anyone that's on the board that's affiliated with the fire halls, Invenergy is willing to give $10,000 right now to each fire hall and $90,000 upon financing of the project. So Invenergy needs W-9s from each fire hall, and as soon as they get them, Invenergy is going to write the check right away. $70,000 donation from the school district for the LED sign. I think that they could use that money in a better way, but I'm not a school director. And for all of our trouble, all the terrorism that everyone's been putting up with, if Invenergy goes to their bank and tries to get financing, and they can't get the $680 million that it's going to cost to build the plant, the township's going to get a $1.5 million severance fee for our trouble. Now, it's irrefutable that these terms represent an excellent agreement. But here's what has been conveyed to me, and I totally agree with. We don't want to get killed on technicalities in our contract. We want to make sure that we don't end up like the people in Jessup who haven't gotten a dollar yet, okay? I am well aware that businesses come and go and sell and move. My mother worked for EchoStar down in McKeesport. That's why we structured to get the $25 million upfront as a lump sum payment. So if they ever sell, or if they ever move, or whatever, we got the money up front. We retained Marcus and Shapira, which is an excellent law firm in Pittsburgh. They're well known. Down at Duquesne, they're known as very prestigious attorneys. I would recommend to the board that after we get some sort of draft of this agreement, we take it to Marcus and Shapira, take it to engineering experts and everyone else, and make it bulletproof. Because I don't want this company, I don't trust them. Not that I have anything against Chicago, but I don't trust them. I want to make this absolutely bulletproof. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Now we're going to go to citizens to address agenda items. First one, keep it around 3 minutes. Animal Bureau.
Well, some of my pleasure. Before you turn that on, I just want to say something. Joanne and Donna will know, I don't know how many years ago the money was set aside for a new salt shed.
Yes.
And I honestly don't know what happened.
It's doing well.
Animal, hey, turn that
Well, I
first.
just told
But I remember that real well.
Yes.
So I want to bring it up. You guys did work on that, and then, like I said, I don't know what happened. But getting back to the, couple of points that Andrew made, there was an article in the paper about a week ago about Tenasco. And it, in the paper, the heading on it was Natural Gas Fuel Generation Station in South Huntington honored for engineering and excellence. And then it also says the Tenasco Westmoreland Generating Station, a natural gas fuel power plant in South Huntington, has been named the Industrial Project of the Year by the Engineers Society of Western Pennsylvania. So I think that's a testimonial about gas plants. But there's another article, and everybody knows that I'm in here talking about developing this township. Without sewage, nothing can happen. But a couple of days ago, in the Sunday paper, there's an article about Sewickley Township that we have a problem with, and they're bragging about they brought 3 new businesses into the township, and the township supervisor, Brian Meridian, who I've talked to several times, says the township is tremendous from property renovation to job creation. The township has, he says, a pro-business, pro-growth, and pro-development agenda. And that's something that I don't see in this township. And then the other thing that I'm going to go real quick here, I already mentioned this to several people, Donald and I have been talking about it. To have to lock down this contract, we need an expert to do this negotiation, write this contract, or whatever, it has to be. But I don't think there's anybody in this room that's in that position to do that. Now, I checked on Marcus and Shapiro, and they represent Giant Eagle. So I think they're, a good company to go to, for doing this. The other thing, I went to the PET meeting, which is the group that's against this, and I'm going to be running out of time. But anyway, one of the things that came up was, and Joanne and Donald will know about this, they said the values of property would go down like about 10%. And I think they'll remember, Terry Stefanko, we did research in the United States, and some of the properties around that place would go down 90% over a period of time. Now, they had a guy at their meeting who came up to me, and this is a really important question. I don't know his name, I've seen him several times, and he said that he had 2 professors at Taylor Summer at Duquesne and 2 at Carnegie Mellon, and he did a study at no cost to the township, like a comprehensive plan. I says, do you have a copy of that? He says, yeah. He says, I went to the meetings. I says, I never saw you until I saw you at these meetings. Now I'm asking, the only ones that would remember would be you and Joanne. Do you remember anybody coming to you with a comprehensive plan from a couple of universities? A study? Yeah. Now he's one of the, he's one of the main people in this group. And I said, well, give me a copy. Well, Scott Taylor would be able to mention him. I don't know if I could recognize the guy, but I wanted to ask him. And he says, and you're one of the enemy, I said, I'm not the enemy. I just want things done in this township. We need the sewer authority finished. We need the money from the power plant so we can get moving. I talked to a friend of mine down in North Carolina. He's in an area, in the next 5 years, 5 to 7 years, they're going to build like 7,000 homes. If we don't do anything, this township is already dying. And if we don't do anything, it's never going to recover.
Thanks,
and then the other thing I want to tell, and I want to, Donald and I, and I'll get out of here. Donald and I have argued about this for 6 months now. We meet down at McDonald's, and we agreed. And we agreed to disagree. Now, I took Larry Koshin to John Snelson's office, and he talked about the zoning. And in there, Basic Carbide used to be R2 suburban residential, and it was changed a little spot. You could go in his office and it was changed to M1 light industrial. So much for spot zoning.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Okay.
By the way, when we tried to get a post office put in up there, we had a senator from the federal senator go up there and look at that property and try to get a post office put in there for the township.
We disagree on about 90% of stuff. We can sit down and debate, right?
Sorry, the white likes me so.
All right, Emerson, anything?
I guess first off, now I gotta say, I'm not your friend.
That's all right.
Joanne, Dawn, you're my friends. You're not. Make it clear to everybody in the township.
That's okay.
You wanna sell out me, my pollution, my water, my air, my noise, to fit your bills.
Not at all.
Yes, you
We're
are.
gonna run over to Westmoreland
Why
County.
did you put up Curies then?
It would've-
Because it's in your backyard.
No, it's not.
Yes. You're selling us out for your benefit,
Isn't it?
so you can put sewers in.
They never came to us for a vote on Fury. They never came to the commissioners. for a
It
vote.
doesn't matter, why didn't you go back to Curies then? Because you knew you couldn't win there.
Because the zoning
So
board
you're
denied it.
coming to Smithville, now you're gonna get rid of feral cats and people in Smithville. Maybe they like living there,
Well, I'll put it in
but you're
Westmoreland.
gonna tear down the houses.
We'll put it in Westmoreland, we'll get nothing, you'll still get it.
Go ahead. Put it in Westmoreland, because they're gonna fight you too. We don't want it. We don't want the pollution, that's the people in Jessup.
We don't-
They have the pollution, they got the noise, and they got nothing from Synergy. But you're doing a good sales pitch for them.
We don't have a choice.
No, you have a choice. Think of the people of the township, not the Synergy people.
It would've went into Ross Draver, it would've been identical.
So what?
It would've been
It's
identical.
farther away from us, and they would have fought it and went further away from them.
It's farther away for about.
You want to put it in because it solves your problem, but now it's causing me problems. Whenever I get cancer from all this pollution, can I sue you over it?
Yes.
How many people in the township? How many people? We hear from
Everybody's fighting it.
How many people are in the township? There's other people who want it.
Yeah, but they
You want other people do.
No, I don't want it in my
You
backyard.
don't.
No, I don't want it in my backyard, and I don't want it in your backyard.
Well, let me decide.
That's why all these people.
All right, guys, hey,
We
hey,
don't
all
want it.
right. That's enough. You have any, if you
Oh,
have,
that's it, okay, I'll get my minute up, the other guy got 5.
you want 3?
That's okay.
He's allowing you to work.
There's an individual, Frank, from 1350 Fallen Timber Road.
No, nothing to say.
Okay. Bill Piper.
You won't have to start the clock.
It wasn't me, Bill.
I know it wasn't you. I'm not gonna nitpick your soapbox, but we're getting a glimmer of the 30 pieces of silver that you guys are accepting to sell out this township. I will remind you that for you folks that remember the Vietnam War, the military had a saying, we had to destroy the village to save it. I want you to think about that long and hard.
Scott Taylor.
Good evening, everybody. Scott Taylor, 304 Mohawk Drive. Andrew first spoken like a true politician. I want to help you make promises to reduce somebody's bills 10 years from now. Nostradamus could even
That's
see
not
that.
coming from me, that's coming from bond council.
On behalf of Tech Elizabeth Township, First Legal Services submitted a letter to the board, which I just handed out to you guys. That was submitted to Mr. Rakunas last week. I trust you guys all got it in your packets here whenever you got them over the weekend. Reiterating once again, the obligations to protect the public and the environment.
As you're aware, or should be aware, the legitimacy of any zoning ordinance is directly related to the promotion of public health, safety, and welfare, and it's clearly stated in every one of these ordinances, including the ordinance you're about to read for oil and gas. See, purpose, very first sentence in that paragraph. That's the base of all ordinances. That's your responsibility. As the one that's been in attendance to arguably every public meeting and hearing held by this township over the past 3 years, I can safely stand here and say that I've yet to hear anyone discuss public health, safety, welfare, and the minutes, as soon as they're completed and put on record, will reflect that fact. To get into the ordinance a little bit, section 605.3. Andrea, you and I have actually talked about this one a couple of times. We have no mechanism to force the developer to come back to this board, to the public, and explain modifications to their existing plan. What's in there right now does not. What I propose is any modifications to an existing and/or previously permitted oil and gas operation shall be allowable as a conditional use based on the current applicable ordinance at the time of application. Like modifications, replacements shall be exempt, which is the same sentence that's already in there. That you need something to force these people to come back to you to get your application fees. It's all about the money for the township, right? We're not gonna let these people run all over us, just like you just said about Invenergy. Right now, they can come in, they can change, just like they're doing with the pipelines. Right now, they're burying 4 extra pipelines in every one of these right-of-ways from what you've agreed to 1. You don't even know about it. Before you can revise this draft in fear of stating the starting process all over again that we've talked about a couple of times, I've handed you and Mr. The solicitor a copy there. The highlighted section, if you want to take a second to read that and indulge us. In the event of substantial amendments made to a proposed ordinance or amendment, before voting upon that enactment, the governing body shall, at least 10 days prior to enactment, re-advise in the newspaper, general circulation, and give a brief summary of what you've done. It doesn't have to start all over again. You can revise, you can change things right now to this thing. You might have to put it off till your next meeting to vote on it, but you can change what's in this ordinance and add some protections as you're supposed to. Hours of operation is one of these things. I apologize for running over, but this one is very important. We need to remove the words "or otherwise authorized by the township." The developer should be required to come before this board and allow the people next to these operations have a say in what's going on around them before you expand the operations about, as right now they're scheduled at 12 hours. That's what they're allowed by our ordinance. You guys can make a blank statement and say, okay, you can work 24/7. The neighboring property owners that put up with that noise and development don't have a say in that matter. They should be able to come through and by right, by the legal process, is to come through the zoning hearing board and get an amendment to their process. The setbacks, it's a joke. You need to set back. Florida Township 1,500 feet. I've always been a proponent of 1 to 1,500 feet. As I talked with Kyle actually talked about it to the planning commission. Set these things to industrial zones only. So a lot of municipalities are going that route. They're not being challenged.
They don't want us to.
That's correct. They're not being challenged. Why? Because they have 4 Supreme Court rulings in their favor. You've already given these guys 2 well sites in this township that they can drill for decades. Why give anybody any more? We've already got enough headaches in this township. And you guys have been putting up with this shit for how many years now? Put an end to it. You've already given away a lot. You guys are going to make a lot of money. The school district's going to make a lot of money. Hopefully. I've asked that question many times, so nobody's up there answered, estimated what the revenue share is going to be out of any of this, outside of application fees. And I see that's on the agenda tonight, so hopefully you guys are doing something with that and it's favorable to the township. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you for letting me run over.
We're going to be a little bit lenient time with the 3-minute rule. You know, if you go over a bit, it's another minute or so.
with the sewage and the post agreement. They're a joke. Total joke. You talk to anybody that's been involved in these throughout the country, and they laugh at what you put out here. You know, you're gonna give the fire departments $100, $100,000 apiece. These people are gonna be here for probably 60 years. You realize what the cost of the fire departments will be over that period of time to take care of the needs of these people? The training that they'll have to have, the equipment they'll have to have? You don't have the foggiest idea. These people should be paying somewhere around $6 million a year host fee. That's reasonable to offset the taxes that they're getting away with not paying. They've got a bunch of suckers. And they did it at Jessup, they're going in here. And you can expect the same thing to happen here that happened to Jessup. They got rid of every person on their board.
Yay.
And she's expected to be put off the board then. Those people have been in this for years, and they haven't gotten one penny yet. Oh, these people, Energy's a good neighbor. Yeah. Real good neighbor. Next subject. Transparency. You know, I go down through this agenda, I see item 12, an easement agreement with HHX. So what is it? Where is it? But come out here, we don't really, the public doesn't have any idea what's going on here. Item 13, improve reimbursement agreement with Company Honey to repair the culvert. Why are they repairing culverts? What's the details of this? Nobody seems to know anything about it.
We're gonna answer everybody else's questions.
Item 15, to ratify an approval for construction hour waiver request for Hood Mountain. Why? Why wasn't this part of the original conditional use? They knew what their hours were gonna be when they started this. Same thing, come in, give you a little piece of what they want, get it approved, and they can start coming in and hammering, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. Keep adding on.
You have that wrong, Fred, but we'll explain it.
Oh, cool, I have it wrong. They've done it, we've already seen changes. You've got 3 items here, 16, 17, 25. There's no details as to what these are about. It would be nice to know what's going on. I mean, you put on an agenda Friday evening, and nobody can find out any information on it because you have the meeting Monday night. Item 26. I'd like to know why we need to create a 501c3 for the township. You know, there's several environmental organizations, one of which happens to be represented here tonight, Mountain Watershed, that have expertise in doing this kind of work in an economically feasible manner. The township has shown an inability to manage projects such as the sewage system. I mean, how much money have we thrown away over the years? What makes you think you can handle another project like this? And item 28. Curious what the AEC matters are that need to be built. Again, it'd be nice to have this information before people vote on it.
Thanks, Fred. Russ for Manning?
Clearly a fan favorite.
Russ Urbanic. I guess I'm in favor of you passing the revised oil and gas ordinance as it's been through the public hearing, and the easement, because the ordinance and easement would permit a freshwater intake facility and associated centralized impoundment that would allow oil and gas companies to pipe fresh water to dwelling sites. The piping of the fresh water will reduce traffic by upwards of 5,000 back and forth trips per well. There's gonna be 5 wells at the Apollo site, 6 wells at the Plutus site, so that's a lot of truck trips. The trucks that haul water to these sites will need to operate both things, fracking, which everybody's well aware of that. So eliminating these truck trips will greatly reduce the traffic, while still allowing residents to benefit from natural gas drilling. Other gas companies may drill in township, and the revised ordinance will allow them to reduce truck traffic to the wells. It's been mentioned about the setbacks. They've been increased in this ordinance. There's no reason to increase them more. Thousands of wells were drilled and the setback was 500 feet, and that was the standard across the state. No members of the public were injured. Increasing setbacks does not increase safety. It simply makes it more difficult for landowners to access their resources. Any increase in setbacks beyond what is in the revised ordinance doesn't increase safety. Simply a tactic used by those who don't want to have any fossil fuels or drilling as a way to ban gas and oil drilling in the township. It has nothing to do with the safety of the residents. And on Invenergy, to me it's always been important is the jobs. Because right now, everybody's getting older, older people are passing away, and our population is dropping. And without jobs around here, there's going to be no young people to move in and to take their place. 30 jobs. You look at Smithdale, I can see by looking at Google Maps, there used to be a lot more houses there. There's 5 houses there on the demolition list. They are fading away. The only thing that's going to keep them from fading away is new jobs in the area, and that's what the power plant brings. I expect them to pay taxes like everybody else, and if they're assessed correctly, they will pay taxes. Everything else on that list is just, it'd be great if we could get it, but that's not the most important thing. We need jobs. Without the jobs, this township is going nowhere. Thank you.
Thanks, Russ.
30 jobs.
Okay, Bill Burry.
Bill Burry, 225 Narragansett Drive. Thanks for having me tonight. I gave up my American Legion meeting and 4 beers to be here tonight, so that's pretty something to do. One thing I wanted to mention was that, Chairman, you mentioned that possibly the power plant is moving to Fuller Township, right? And I questioned Nick Cohen right at that spot about going Fuller Township. Nick Cohen said to me that would never happen. They had no inclination of ever moving that power plant to Fuller Township. I talked to Skrinovich and other leaders that were in Fuller Township. They would have loved to have that power plant down in Manola. Okay, it had the water resources, it had the power, it had the gas, and they had the property to build it there. But they wanted Elizabeth Township, and they never gave me an explanation as to why they wanted Elizabeth Township. I wasn't alone. Matter of fact, Fred Dickerson was with me, and I believe Larry Cushman was standing there too, when we cornered Nick Cohen at the time. And I might run over a few minutes here. The other thing is there was a young lady from Invenergy that was in the back of the hall. She was a recent college graduate, a little left behind yours anyway. And I questioned her and I said, so tell me exactly, what are you paying taxes in other parts of the country? And she said, nothing. I said, so what are you going to pay in Elizabeth Township? And she said, we don't pay taxes. I said, all right. So I got that answer. That's the first time I ever got straight answers from anyone from Invenergy. On your agenda items, I see you have $100,000 in yearly taxes. Okay, now this is probably a $500 million power plant. Based on $100,000, this power plant is valued with 4 mills at around $25 million, okay? You folks gave them a $775 million tax credit. Okay, they're paying on $25 million based on 4 mills. if I equate that to the average citizen in Elizabeth Township, we'd love to have that same discount. You know, what I'm saying is that, you know, they're not paying their fair share. What I'm saying is if I equate that to the average $100,000 home in Elizabeth Township, seems to me, it would be about we would be assessed at $5,000 each. And pay, right now, that person pays $400. And I could reduce it to $20. $20, okay? And that East Elizabeth Invenergy's paying at $100,000. I know. And if we work at it hard enough, okay? Now, I've worked with fracking and other things, and I went into negotiations like you did, okay? Most of the time when we left the meeting, we laughed at you guys, and we called you whores, and we knew that when we left, I gave you less than what you wanted. I always had a number in mind, but the number was always higher than what you wanted. Okay, even if it was $100,000, I might have had $1 million in there, and you didn't know it. Okay, so when I walked away, we had a good laugh. All right. The other thing is, I attended the meeting on the 20th of December, 2018, and I sat in the back of the room and I watched the proceedings. There were approximately 200 people at the meeting, and 200 people that spoke against the power plant. And after I left, I thought to myself, this was the best example of democratic socialism at work. It seemed to me that 4 people made a decision to come up with building the Invenergy Blake power plant. I'm going to name it after you, because I think we should. I think we should name wells and power plants after some of the commissioners that are all for this. So they'll remember 100 years from now, when it's a rusting hulk, like Menneson and Denora and McKeesport and the surrounding areas. So the other thing I'd like to end on is, I was referred to by one of your commissioners at the time as a communist. Okay. And I have two people there that prove what happened. Because I'm public, it upset me. I find that behavior unacceptable from not only you, but anyone else. Okay, first of all, I'm not a communist. Okay, and I even mentioned this at the Legion at one time, and those guys were upset about it. But I just thought I'd mention it to you because you might be hearing about that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Patty Hoffman.
Patty Hoffman, Dublin Station Road. We are here again with 29 items on the agenda, pushing things through again. This isn't the first time we've done this, and is this going to be the last time we do this? We really don't get to the core of what we need to talk about. We don't fix things. You don't follow what you are supposed to do to protect the township. We say this over and over and over again. And it's not funny, Matt, and it's not funny, Andrew.
I wasn't talking about this.
Well, can you pay attention instead of playing games up there, girls? You be respectful for me. I'm talking, the two of you are talking. You can't be bothered to listen to me.
I asked him a question.
We're looking at an easement. Is this going into Blythedale again? Because we don't have it. Are we going to take our recreation park and we're going to give it away to Huntley and Huntley again?
I'm gonna give you 5 more.
Oh boy. Do you know what an easement in the right-of-way usually consists of? Underground. Something that you can walk on, something that you can drive on, something that you can egress and ingress. It is not to build a power pump station. You are giving away something that you don't even have the rights to. There is a, in the deed.
Can I stop you right there, Pat? Because it's not what it's for.
Pause, yeah,
It's
pause
not
the-
what it's for.
pause the time.
It's not what it's for. The easement is for the water lines that will be underground. And if it does get constructed, and there is a lease agreement entered into to do that, if there is, and there isn't at this point, they will have easements to run the lines. So it is-
Oh boy, so we're going to give them something right now. We're gonna approve an easement for them. So that you can come back later and say, yeah, but they got the pipelines in, we got the
Their
easement.
application process. So if we want a pump station, and this board has decided that it is in the best interest of the township to eliminate thousands and thousands of water trucks, and eliminate that by allowing this pump station to be put in, which is the basis for the zoning amendment, as you know, okay, most of the zoning amendment. And that's the philosophy of the board, is it's better to have a pump station with water lines underground and pump the water into a tank, freshwater impoundment tank, than it would be to have all these trucks and trucking it in.
Really?
So this is part of that process.
You guys are great. Thank you. You guys are great. You guys want to sell us out. First in the oil and gas ordinance, by allowing the pump station in all zones of the township.
The other option is trucking, though. What do you want?
Oh, well, let's see.
What's your solution?
If we had put the oil and gas ordinance into place with 1,500 feet, how many well sites are we going to have that we're going to need to have all this water going to? Where are the trucks coming from and going to? How many times through the township is this going through the township? It's not, because that's not the truck route path.
So if you have two approved well sites, you have to get water.
We have the second approved well site because you guys did not do your job
I'm saying
again.
that you have to, what is your idea? I'm saying that it's either the pump station or it's trucking.
It's the trucking, Matt, it's not the pump station. Because you shouldn't have had the second well site to begin with. And you're going to have that, and it's not going to just stop at the second well site, Matt. It's going to keep on going and going and going and going. Because we're going to keep on promising more and more places.
Conversation with you. The approval's not, and whether you agree with that or not, this board approved it, okay? What I'm trying to explain to you is what you thought that is not, it is not. It's part of having the pump station, okay? Part of that, the amendment at the pump station, is to eliminate the truck traffic. So you have two approved sites, and whether you agree with that or not, that's a fact. They're there, okay? You have to deal with the water some way. So it's either pump station or trucks. And so the philosophy, and again, they're voting, they vote, okay, I don't vote. I'm just saying the philosophy is to amend the ordinance to do pump station versus trucks. And if you disagree with that, that's fine. But if they don't approve it and allow the pump station, then you're gonna have all these trucks, and then you're gonna have people complaining that there's truck traffic and road damage and everything else. So you have to deal with
Remember that the truck route is coming through Cedarsville and either going up Nicholsville to the Waha site and to Paul and Timber, or it's coming up the Blythedale Road. I'm not sure which one we're gonna go.
Or
All
it's
right.
coming down 48 past Central.
And it's not supposed to come down 48. That was an alternate route, and that was only in case of emergencies.
That is the alternate route.
That was only in case of emergencies.
The main route is the first one you set up.
So we're having it coming up Nichols Hill, which we're already having everything come up anyway. So you're really helping us a whole heck of a lot. It really is not helping us a whole heck of a lot. I'm sorry, it isn't. So you may think it is, but it isn't. But I want to switch subjects right now. We have the approval to ratify an approval on construction times. I said we're looking at why. This is supposed to go before zoning. This isn't supposed to come before
So
here.
they're doing boring, okay, underneath Blythedale. And they need a waiver only while the boring is happening, because if they stop the boring before it goes all the way through, the whole thing will collapse. So that's the only purpose for that waiver.
Well, why isn't it before the zoning board to get a variance
It's
for that?
properly permitted, so it would need to.
But we need to do this for 24 hours. And
No,
is this?
no, it's not for 24 hours. It is for the length of time just till they bore under the road, and then that's it. Because they can't stop. If they are concerned, and they're going to try and do it as best they can to meet the construction hours. But their concern was, if they get halfway through or 3/4 of the way through, and it's like, okay, it's time to stop, they can't stop without having the whole.
So you guys all voted on this, and we have a waiver on this now, and we didn't even know anything about it.
For the board for consideration, but that's what the substance of it is.
And it's
What are
in,
you talking about?
The waiver of the construction element, waiver element. It's number 15.
and it's in there, it's in this waiver that you're going to have, that it's going to say that this is temporary and only lasts for 1 day.
It would last for, yes, 1 day until they finish the boring. That's why they're not even sure that it's gonna be necessary, that this is a precautionary, because they can't stop in the middle.
It seems to me that would still go before the zoning board. We're looking at your host agreement. That is really not a host agreement. That's fluff stuff. If any of you would have come to the Jessup meeting, you would have been able to talk to people that were actually dealing with this right now and dealing with Invenergy. Don't tell me to sit down, because you gave everybody else more time, please. But you're looking, if you would have come, you could have talked to the people at Jessup and known what Invenergy is really like. They are living it. We're not living it yet. They are living it. You could have asked them all these questions. They looked at your little things. It's just a list. It's not even the agreement, so where's the agreement? We don't even have
Just so everyone
that.
knows, I have been sent documents. I have the agreements. I'm working on the legalities of it. The board's problem. Once they get into a more finalized format, I'm worried about the things that everybody's worried about, making sure that the contracts are tight. But their attorney from Chicago and from Pittsburgh have sent me draft documents with those terms, which is why we're allowed to come here and actually say these are the terms, because those terms aren't going to change. There may be legalities in the contracts that change, as we're going back and forth about the legal language, but those items that they've committed to are in those agreements, and I have.
And where's our professional that we hired?
Well, hang on, something I want to say, I just want to interject. We're going to send it to Marcus and Shapiro, for the legal, they're well-known, fine attorneys in Pittsburgh, and we're not rushing this. It's not like we're going to vote on this at the next meeting. We're going to make this thing absolutely bulletproof, and we're going to give you a copy, and you can show it to your environmental attorneys, have them look over it. We'll have Marcus Shapiro look over it. He's good with it. We're not going to rush it.
You do realize that baseball fields are not part of the host agreement. They're just fluff stuff. You do realize that the school is supposed to have their own host agreement, not with the township. You do realize whatever they told you, I think it was Fred that said, or I'm not even sure who said it, that the $10,000 is nothing over the period of years.
So there's going to be multiple agreements. It's not just one agreement. It's not just a host agreement. It's going to be multiple agreements because there's different parts to it, obviously. Like you don't want to put the roads in with the other stuff, because there's going to be a road agreement that deals with how they're going to do the roads and the specifications of the road. So like, there's going to be there are multiple agreements. So it's not just one agreement that's just like, hey, these are the things we're doing, that's it. These are legal, working legal documents.
So we're looking at this and we're saying we're selling the people of this township out, especially the people in Smithdale, for $250,000 a year.
No, this is what I'm saying.
That's what you're saying.
No, listen, hang on, I'm going to tell you what I'm saying.
And you have a choice.
Listen, hang on, it's this or Rush River Township.
Good. Good. Let it go to Rush River. Let it go to Elmina. It does not, we do not want it here. We have people living here.
Let me say something. If it was in Rush River, right over the Westmoreland County line, it would still be on the Cascura property, and all you people would still get the same effect of it and still see it.
They don't own enough, supposedly, from what they told us, to go onto that piece of property. So now that's changed too. So that means they misinformed us about that information also, because there wasn't enough land over there. They told us they couldn't do anything under less than this amount of land, but now all of a sudden they can?
I know they
Okay, so that's a story.
Let me finish the sentence. Okay? They tore the site right over the Westmoreland County line. It would be a virtually identical situation if it was within our boundary or without. And what we're saying is, we're not selling you out. It's this or nothing.
Nothing. You didn't ask the people of this township when you sat there at that meeting and those 200 people sat there at that meeting and said to you, no. They begged, they pleaded, and they gave up their Christmas time to come to that meeting to say that to you, and you all chose to ignore it. The attorney told you that you didn't do your due diligence, and you chose to ignore it. The people don't want it. There may be some people that want it because somebody wants something. People put their hands out and they want something, but you didn't have town meetings, you didn't ask them, and you are selling out the people of Smithdale. You are selling out the people that live around there. You are selling out the rest of the township because this is going to decrease our values, whether you think so or not, whether Emil thinks so or whether Russ thinks so, because the people of Jessup are living it. It has decreased their values. They live a third of a mile, a half a mile away from this, and their values have all gone down. And they actually wanted something in their agreement, which their solicitor did not get them, that said to give them a chance, if you wanted to, let's work out an agreement because we are so rotten people, but let's work out an agreement that if your house value goes down, that we will compensate you for it. We don't have anything like that in this agreement. There is nothing that even vaguely resembles something that is a real agreement.
Thank you, Patty.
No, wait, one more, because you got Madeline there for something that is saying on number 28, it says, subject to the terms of the host agreement, which we don't have on file, which we haven't voted on. Number 28 should not be on there.
Thank you. Okay, Kristen now?
Hi, Kristen Ash, 1200 Paula Timber Road. I was going to ask about about the construction, so I don't need to do that. But I did want to address two things. The easement, obviously, of the water helps me tremendously. So if you're bringing 500 trucks a day past my house, which is absolutely what's going to be the case, that would be something that I would be in favor of.
Don't let her hear that.
We live 1,500 feet from Apollo, 1,500 feet from the pipeline, 1 mile from Plutus, so everything is right in my neighborhood. So anything that helps to reduce noise, reduce traffic is something that obviously is helpful to me and my family, my 9-year-old daughter. And just two quick things that I think we've, at least I know my husband has brought up before. We want that we have the resident request form that goes to Huntley and Huntley. It would be really helpful if all of you got a copy of that, if there was ways that, you know, we can't just send that information to Huntley and Huntley and they're the only ones who know about the problems happening. You all should know about that. So adding a, person also that you are accountable to knowing what the problems are in the neighborhood would be extremely helpful. And that was it for me.
Thank you.
500 trucks, that's 500 jobs you just got rid of. Oh.
All right. Hey, Ted Gray.
I wondered if he was coming back.
It's only about 21. I keep saying 30, 21, 21, 20. Tower originated at Mount Vernon. They voted to move. They voted West Monroe. You get your truck, where you going to West Monroe, cheaper. So you can get money.
So here we go. You can hit it, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to lie. I'm afraid that what the agenda shows tonight is the commissioners do not want to protect their constituents as long as the word money is enough to overcome that desire. There was a commissioners meeting that was canceled that could have discussed several of the items on tonight's agenda openly, and instead it was canceled for lack of agenda items. On Friday around 6 p.m. comes a whole host of items listed on the agenda. There's the energy agreement, which I understand you spelled all that out. And you know my concerns is that it's a permitted use and not a conditional use, and those are safeguards that could be put in place that aren't put in place whenever it's permitted. There's item 10, motion to ratify the advertising of proposed oil and gas amendment. Item 11, motion to approve or deny the amended oil and gas ordinance without one change from suggestions brought up at the public hearing. And I put before you the suggestions that I put before you before, but in more specific form. Motion to approve the easement with Hex, which is the pump station. This was my thought of what it's all about. And yes, I understand the concerns of the trucks. And yes, I understand that we're in a quandary between all of this and that there are people who have the impact of that, of what's going on. The problem is that it's pulling from the Youghiogheny River. This isn't pulling from the Monongahela River. The Monongahela River that's in Forward Township that they're pulling water from to go ahead and do this stuff has a large volume of water. There are places down along the Yough that I go ahead and kayak down, and I have to lift my kayak up to be able to get it across the area. And now you're going to be sucking off, if you're saying, look at all the trucks and look at how much that is. I would like to know how many millions of gallons of trucks that are going through that are going to be removed, and how many millions of gallons of water is going to go from Yough, and how it's going to be able to sustain that much flow reduction. In the year we're having now, we would give away water
but this isn't the year that we always have. So the thing about it is, there is another choice besides just trucks for the Occoquan River. And that was when the Apollo B application came before us to begin with. And I was here as a person that was an objector or whatever at that party. It was that their primary source was going to be PA American Water. That's what they were going to use, was PA American Water. And then there was going to be other subsequent uses that were going to be pulled off from that. So my contention is that you can use PA American Water to fill up the tanks and use that water to go ahead and take it instead of pulling from the Yauk that is going to not be able to sustain the flow that's necessary. The difference is PA American Water is going to cost something money and the Yauk River isn't. That's what the difference is. Motion to approve the reimbursement agreement with Hex for repair culvert on Fallen Timber Road. I know that that was part of the DEP write-up as a deficiency at the beginning of the whole process. All I'm asking for right now is clarification. Who's reimbursing who?
The township's gonna put it out for bid, the township's gonna fix it, I'm not gonna fix it, they're gonna pay the township.
Okay. Motion to ratify the approval of construction hours waiver request from Huntley to go ahead and do the boring underneath the Flattdale to go ahead and let those construction hours go. Was the saddest one for me at all, because it's the one where you're telling everyone that you don't have their interests at heart if anyone's affected by the noise of that construction. It's not bad enough to suffer 12 hours of construction noise from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., but now they must be a little bit longer. If it is one day, that's one thing. But is it written up as one day, and one day at most? Is that how that agreement is written, for one day, and one day only, we will have this? Or is there no time limit that's put on how long that's being waived?
I don't understand, it's as long as it'll take.
It's only for as long as it'll take. They're hopefully going to get done.
I heard what you
Yeah, so
said.
they're hopefully gonna not even need it, but if they need it while they're in the middle, and then not only it, so it'll be a temporary until they get that board done, which should only be one.
Yeah, they may not need it at all.
They may not need it at all.
Right, but what happens if it,
They don't want the line to go out.
I don't want the line, I don't want the line, I get the concept, but somehow throughout the whole process, this is talking about ratifying approvals and everything else through there should be like communications, and this stuff should be out there to begin with, to let people know what's going on.
Because we only meet twice, sometimes once a month, things happen between those meetings that you have to conduct business, and that's for any municipality. It's not just here. I mean, I represent numerous municipalities, and so you have ratifications on things that have to happen. So it's just unfortunately part of it. You don't meet every day.
Right, but we had a meeting before, but anyway, what my feeling is, we should be looking into what he's here before us at the very beginning to go ahead and say there's grants and whatever else. What I think we need to be doing is stop sniffing out all the oil and gas industry for monies and handouts to go ahead and save ourselves. We should be looking into grants. We should be looking at things out there that is money that the government's going to go ahead and take care of townships that have problems. There are people who have worse problems than us that got grant money to take care of sewage issues throughout the whole thing. We should have like a grant writer. We should have somebody in place that can go ahead and get us money that's free money that doesn't have all these things to it. It doesn't have stuff that has drawbacks to it and other things to that.
Yeah.
If you look at those is to develop a comprehensive plan, I think that's the idea, to do exactly what you're saying.
But I think the case board has a grant writer, and the grant writer charges like 5 or 10% of what they get. They work on a contingency. So either way, the township doesn't lose anything. So I think we should do the same thing.
I mean, we're having we have a divided township all over the place, because the reality of all this is some people want it because they think they're going to get money out of it, and some people don't want it because they know that they're going to have impacts on it. What if we got something for free that didn't have any impacts on it? Wouldn't you guys rather be the heroes? I'd rather you guys be the heroes. Honestly, I would. I want to be up here as an antagonist. I'm not looking for this. So before you, I put the things before the oil and gas, the 10 things there. Please realize that this ordinance is being written not just for Huntley, not just for the next 3 years. The impacts will last a long time. If the number of wells change on the site, or other changes occur with the pipelines, how thick the pipelines are, the number of pipelines, there should be a new conditional use hearing that is clearly in the ordinance that states a new conditional use hearing has to come. Setbacks should be the 1,500 feet, and that's not to do with anything other than to protect those people. The people that are being protected are those other people near those properties that are dealing with all of this. Forward Township had 500 feet that went to 1,000 feet, and they went from 1,000 feet to 1,500 feet. And I talked to the commissioner there directly, and he said 750 feet is a joke. And that was his direct words on it. There should be air quality and water quality should be monitored continuously by an independent organization. It's in the conditions added to approved wells. It should be written into the ordinance, and it should be by an independent organization that is not through Putnam County. Roads should be controlled by the commissioners in our ordinance. What roads are used, repaving of roads, how are they paid for, how are they maintained throughout the entire use? All that stuff should be written in there. How is industry going to implement their entire plan spelled out in the application? Here is their 5 to 10 year plan of where pipelines are going to go, where gathering lines are going to go, where compression stations are going to go. Have all that stuff spelled out, so when you go to conditional use, you know what this is, instead of going around haphazardly putting these wells all over the place and not knowing what the grand plan is. They have to have a plan. They should share what that plan is. Items regarding lighting and noise that I suggested. Items that are written in the last 2 conditional use hearings that were written in that are not site specific should be written into our ordinance. Other items like trucks being placarded to know, are they hauling fresh water? Are they hauling wastewater? The number of holding tanks that are allowed on the property. How long is that wastewater held on the property? There are things that can be considered in this ordinance, and I really would wish that you would do that. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Deb. Sherry Ludwig.
Sure, like the 200 Long Street, talk about timing. I saw it on the agenda, and I do appreciate you trying to address some of my issues. I just wish we had more communication. I was disappointed in that, to not hear or keep a board. I felt like I was in the dark. I felt like nothing was happening, nothing was getting done. But I do appreciate your time and everything like that, and looking forward to talking to you about that.
Thank you. Sandy Simpkowski.
I'm one of the residents of Fallen Timber Road, and I came here because of the hours and requesting that you do not give them extra hours. They should be able to do their boring, starting in the morning and ending when they need to end it. I mean, it's a 12-hour right now. They can't bore in 12 hours.
Well, they hope they can. If
Then
run into a
they
problem.
shouldn't be going that way. Wherever they're going, they need to be able to do it within a 12-hour period. I don't know anything about mining or fracking or anything, but we're gonna be dealing with a lot of noise. That's the other thing I wanted to ask you. Where's the wall? Did that wall go away? It was supposed to be in a permit that they were building a wall. If they're gonna start.
There's supposed to be sound barriers, yeah.
Sound barriers, okay, and are they putting those in before or after?
No,
They'll be up, okay, but I keep hearing things that they're
No, I
gonna
just
start.
got a phone call on that today, so they're gonna get, so.
They are, before.
He's just saying about the one.
Okay, because I'm looking and I'm like, I don't see any wall going up, and I don't know if you guys said, oh, we don't need it. I also was concerned about, the routes of these trucks coming up Nichols Hill and going all the way down Fallen Timber. We've got all those residents that are gonna be dealing with more truck traffic, and I'm not sure why you don't have them going through Lydell. I might get somebody mad at me for saying to go through Lydell, but for that well that's on the, well, then help them fix the road. They want to go to the well, have them.
That's what I wanted to defend on.
It's simple as that. PennDOT's not gonna let them fix the road.
They're not gonna let them use it.
They're not gonna let them use it
So where you
unless
are?
they think that they can pay to fix it, and PennDOT will
Plus,
sure allow
plus, I
that.
believe the turn at the bottom.
It's no different than Nichols Hill.
Yeah, it's just- I'm just
They
saying.
want access to, I think you guys are selling us out.
Yep.
You're allowing Huntley to dictate how they drive their
I'll
trucks.
just, I live on Patterson, so I'm not, I wanted to come up with the least impactful way as well, and
understand.
unfortunately, there's no easy way to get to these 2 wells. It just,
There
there is no
isn't,
easy.
but they knew that when they were putting the wells in. They knew that. They knew the problems that they have, and they were a bigger company. You let them pay for the ways.
Well,
not
I don't
us.
know how much you know, like, the negotiation with that went on a long time, because it's, the route that they're using isn't even close to the original route that they wanted to use. I mean, they wanted to come down 48, go all the way down Fallen Timber that way, and that, we were concerned about the intersection of the Central and the trucks going that way. So, I mean, we've tried, honestly, I went to meetings down with PennDOT.
There's more people in
Seriously,
township being affected.
we looked at re-engineering that whole intersection at Central and actually making it like a T intersection. I mean, we've tried various ways, and I mean, the problem is they need access, and it just,
And the
there's really
state's
very
not gonna allow them
few
to
ways.
fix the road, I have a hard time believing.
Well,
that.
PennDOT's not gonna allow them to
They wouldn't let us put up the guardrail.
Yeah, they don't let us put up our, but I'm saying, I also believe that turn at the bottom, I believe that's a PennDOT violation as well. Like, there, it has to meet certain turning radiuses with the size of their truck. It does. The way that they're coming, because I think don't they go around, they're coming up Nichols Hill,
Yes,
right?
they are.
So that's why it meets that radius. Like, it wouldn't need it going the
I'm
other way.
surprised because I have to cross the yellow line.
Yeah.
When I bring a 30-foot trailer up.
Yeah, well, it does. I mean, they had like, they have to do all those studies with it too, because if there is an accident, like, they're responsible, so.
I still think they should be able to comply down. But anyway, to get the traffic, it's already a major highway there. And it has been before they even set foot in the Hoover. But I think it's just, everyone's going from Steubenville Township to here. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Anderson?
I'll start with saying that I have a lot of concerns about your host agreement. We're providing Invenergy with significant resources and giving them considerable leeway with the permitted use. I'm very concerned that we're not getting enough in return. There are numerous negative impacts, including declining property values and tax base all around this plant. Although some of the Castoro property is a dump, which apparently this township allowed to happen, in years to come, much of the agricultural land around the plant could become valuable as housing, given the river bluff effect and the scenic views. However, with the power plant, we'll forgo that. But I'm very concerned about the value of this agreement to the township. The first thing, the 2 minimum tax payments to the township and the school district. This is a drop in the bucket to Invenergy. As currently written, there is no escalation for rate of inflation to increase these payments on a yearly basis. In 10, 20, 30, 40 years, this amount of money will really be quite meaningless. And it's also not that much money right now. Let's face it, we know how much money this industry has. It's a lot. This is not much. All these tax payments are in lieu of other payments. Shouldn't taxes be paid by Invenergy as we pay taxes, and shouldn't there be other payments in addition to that constitute the host agreement? Second, I don't see reconstruction of Forest Hill Road as a big win for this township, because this is an expense that Invenergy would have to cover no matter what. So them saying they're doing you a big favor is not really doing you a big favor. Third, a $100,000 donation to a fire department is ridiculous. Why doesn't this agreement also include a yearly donation that escalates over time with inflation? 30 or 40 years from now, that $100,000 is going to be long, long gone. And you guys know how much it costs to run a fire department. Fourth, experts. There's no agreement or mention of Invenergy paying for air quality monitoring that is chosen by our residents. We are just supposed to trust them that the air that many of us will be breathing is just fine. Mr. Nick Cohen himself told my husband and I in our home that this plant will only emit water vapor. That's it. No particulates, no nothing. Can you honestly tell me that you believe that?
Unless they're burning hydrogen, that's about it.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, I'm going to be living a third mile away from this plant, and it is in my backyard. It's not in your backyards. It's in my backyard. Finally, I see nothing in this agreement that protects property owners from devaluation of their property, let alone their loss of peace, tranquility, view shed, etc. Property value protection needs to be built into this agreement for property owners. You guys understand well that there are about 20 folks that live along Skillet Hill and Schwerian Drive and Weddell Road. and the few people down in Smithdale. And that's why you're getting away with this. None of the people that live up there are in favor of this thing, perhaps maybe one or two. But a lot of them are here right now, and they've been here at other times. Nobody wants it. You're shoving it down our throat because you can get away with it, and because Mr. Broderick, who's supposed to be representing us, is not representing us. You just said, I don't trust them. You said that. And you're going to put a 550 megawatt power plant in our backyard, and you don't trust them. So how are you going to make sure that our air quality is not going to destroy our lives, Mr. Kuzma?
Okay.
How are you going to do that?
Two things I want to say. This agreement is not final.
It better not be.
We can add a lot of what you just said, a lot of things that you said about air quality monitoring, a yearly donation.
That they pay for.
Yeah, property value, everything like that. We could add that into the agreement.
Well, you better. And you better get somebody who knows what they're doing to negotiate these agreements. Not somebody who you say is a good attorney downtown, but somebody who knows how to negotiate host agreements. Okay? And I mean that.
And something that I want to say is that obviously everyone is how upset you are.
I am upset.
I don't want to put a power plant in your backyard.
You're putting it in my backyard. You're throwing it down my throat, so don't even bother to push back on it, okay? You're shoving this thing down onto my backyard. That's where it's going. Because you're not going to have to put up with it. Nobody else who lives up in this end of the township puts up with it either. And if you guys don't understand why people are so upset about what's going on in our end of the township, we're the ones that are putting up with oil and gas, Mr. Roderick. Those trucks are running all over our roads. I fight with those trucks to get to work every day. Every day. You guys are getting all kinds of fabulous benefits, I guess, but we're the ones who are putting up with it. And I would suggest that you should at least be polite.
What if it blows up?
It's all about oil.
Eric Carter.
Eric Carter, 330 Old Mill. That's actually Ohio Pile, but part of Mountain Watershed Association. Just a couple things. Obviously, energy is a big topic. You said 3 words tonight: impacts with a question mark, ideal question mark, and trust, basically. And those 3 things, how can you say all 3 of those and say this is still good for the community? Addressing a couple issues. Some people here don't really appreciate me talking. But there are other things that our organization does, and some of that has to do with a recent occurrence with the acid mine drainage or abandoned mine drainage. So not only does Mountain Watershed advocate for clean water and healthy communities, but we are also conservationists. So we would love to help you in any way we can. Indian Creek is where our office is located. We have 130 identified discharges. We're cleaning up 7 of them right now, and that's cleaning about 85% of the toxic water coming into our creek. We've been doing this for about 25 years. We do this to not only clean the water, but to promote our region and recreation. And we've also created good living wage jobs in a community that's been suffering for many years. So again, we have the staff to perform the maintenance, the monitoring, and we're experienced with the grant work, the trust fund management of these systems, and we also have great relationships with the DEP, Bureau of Mine Reclamation, knowledge of how to apply for these grants. So please reach out to us. We'll be happy to help.
Would you be interested in overseeing?
We'd be happy to be involved.
Okay. The reason I ask, if you're willing to oversee it, then we'll strike former organizations running on our own.
We've been actually working with U.S. Steel for many years. We've been working with Fish and Boat, and in the last few years it's kind of been washed away, but this recent event we'd love to take over, and we had this experience from at least 7 or 8 other projects that we do.
Okay, well, everyone in the room, we're crossing off motions number 26 and 27.
Perfect. This is who I wanted to introduce you to.
If you're willing to do that, I mean,
But I want to just end
we'll
saying,
help. Yeah, we'll help.
we are advocates for water. So you can trust us on this issue, and you can also trust us when we speak on energy, floodplain issues, Huntley and Huntley. And we appreciate you guys having open ears. And we'd love for you guys to listen as much as possible. Thank you.
Cindy McCall.
Hello, Cindy McCall, and I am going to try to be very brief. I think everybody has contributed something to the conversation here tonight. And my background is medical and education, so the safety issues are always a really big deal, especially because I am the closest to the Plutus site and definitely concerned about these things. I'm not an expert in science or medicine. I have studied them for many years, but I surround myself by people who are and consult with them regularly. And recently, in just the last 2 months, I've met with a chemical engineer, a nuclear engineer, electrical engineers, petroleum engineers, and professors, and I always ask them, what are the risks? What are the risks? What are the benefits? And that's just an open-ended question, and I really want to know the answer. And they share answers that are very good answers. And I love that the original presentation here today about risk management of resources, of the investments for the township. Risk management, I think, is the answer to everything that we've discussed tonight. And creative problem solving and understanding that it's emotional, and I get that, because we are people who do have legitimate concerns, and I appreciate that everybody that shared something, I think, did share something that's actually helpful tonight. What would we be as a township? I would love to see us be known as a township that's different than Jessup, that we've learned from Jessup, we've learned from Forward Township, we've learned from all the other places that have had problems, that we are listening, and I think I'm hearing that tonight, so I'm pleased to hear that. I know that that's not pie in the sky. I believe that there are things that are difficult that we've discussed tonight, but I'm going to briefly touch on the two things that I think were the biggest issues tonight, are the Invenergy issue and the Huntley issue. So just as we started off today with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we always do, we end with one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I'm glad that we hear things, even when people are frustrated and angry, you're hearing them, and you are looking and working toward liberty, not to take it away, but understanding that the township does need money. I realized, oops, I'm getting out of time. Township needs money, and we want to maximize these opportunities and minimize the risks. I think that from what I heard tonight, lots of ideas came to the table that can do that. The truck traffic is a big deal. I get it about the water, I get it about the river. I think that everything that we've talked about in the past, like that if the river level is low, there is a shut-off. There is no water coming out of the river. Then there is water coming from Pennsylvania Water. So there are lots of plans to reduce truck traffic. So I definitely support those things. I appreciate the difficulties. I just want to thank everybody for dealing with America. I mean, we know that there are many people that have said this, from pre-Revolutionary War, Civil War, all of these, the founders of our country. United we stand, divided we fall. If we can stay calm enough to be creative problem solvers, many of these problems will be solved. So thank you for me and all that you've decided.
Thank you. So we have three that are non-agenda items. I'm just gonna call them up anyway because most of them. The first one is Claire Bryce. If you want, we can bring the mic back to you.
I bring this up to you every time I come to the meeting. Now the storm sewer is falling off of the road. We have another hole in our yard. I know I've been coming over to you guys about this, but nobody's done anything. And it's getting worse and worse. And Brian, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I mean, it's getting worse and worse. Our yard and all this stuff is sinking in, and I don't know how to fix it. And now they're building a second story onto the house that's next to us. And when we had this bit of rain, the whole yard floods and all this water comes into our yard. I don't know if that's because the terracotta pipe is breaking or what it's doing, but it's really unsightly and it's dangerous, and I'm worried somebody's gonna get hurt. This one that I called about today, and Jake was nice enough to put one of the horses up. The whole grate is falling in. If somebody with a child goes over that, they could be terribly hurt. So I would like somebody to look into it. I don't know if it's you, Brian, or you, Jake, but somebody needs to do something.
We can verify that as part of this second project.
Okay, I don't know if all that terracotta pipe is breaking off there, but anyway, I'm on 123. I want to thank all of you for not raising the taxes. I want to say that again. I do appreciate that, and I want to thank you for all of your kindness.
Thanks, Claire. We'll go to Donna Greenwald. Donna? Okay. Clint Taylor?
Uh, 2087 Smith Road. Thank you for everything. Couple things about the power plants. You know, we have no talks about making fire hydrants. We had discussions of this. We have already lost families down there because of fire, having no water. We've also talked about why not just buy out the town of Smithville? You clearly gave us away for $10,000 or so. Why not buy us out? Why not make us a $100,000 offer to get rid of the 16 families that are down there?
16.
I mean, you already sold us out. None of us want to live below it. We know it's happening. We need an answer now. I don't want to live below it. I know there's a handful that don't want to live below it. Give us an option. I mean, my house is going to be worth, I mean, it's already worth nothing because you let the drugs go on down there constantly. That I constantly send messages to every single one of you about this. And nothing gets done. It's easy. There's videos. I mean, sit across the river for an hour. Super simple to handle. Give us an option. Don't just worry about just the township. Worry about the people too. The people up on Skillet Hill. If they want out, give them the option to get out. If Moose wants out, give them an offer. Make them an offer to get out, not $10,000. We're not worth $10,000. We're worth way more than that, Rob.
Where do you get $10,000, Clinton? Clinton, you're making an accusation. Why don't you come up with
Okay, you came to my house and physically told me this.
Absolutely not. I call you a bold-faced liar because I did not tell you $10,000.
You physically came to our house and told us
Absolutely
that.
not. Absolutely not, Clinton.
Absolutely.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
All right, then,
Yeah.
I'll go on with the phone.
Yes, I know most all of you, if not all of you. There might be one or John. Anyway, why I want to take comments, I appreciate that. And I won't go over 3. Is I've attended most of these meetings at the middle school and here and so forth. And I know there's a lot of high emotion at each one of those meetings, as there is tonight. I respect all of you and your opinions, be them pro or con. But I wanted to make a comment, which I've been debating for a number of months really, that I think cuts to the chase. And what that is our township has a population of 13,000. We have 8,000 homes in this township. If the emotion was so high that this was a bad thing, I would think that all these meetings would have been so crowded we needed a police force out there to control 3,000 or 4,000 people, or 300 or 400 people, instead of 50 to maybe 150 people. So what I don't understand, I'm talking to all of you, you're included, what I don't understand is why we have to listen for hours and hours and hours and hours on negativity, when I understand those that are being impacted, it's very, very critical to them and very emotional. But what about the other 7,950 or whatever people that don't attend these meetings, that don't seem to have a problem with it, or they don't care, or they don't see a problem? Wait a minute. My turn. No comment. I feel that the Board of Commissioners are acting in the best interests of the township in general and the population in total. And I want each one of you to search your souls to see why we don't have more people attending these meetings if it was so bad and so critical. Think about that. I'm not giving you pro or con, and I'm not telling you my stand, although when it was going to Henderson, it didn't bother me. So that's a little hint. But the thing is, the benefits seem to be very, very good for us financially. And I've been in this township since 1960. And I'm 83 years old. I've been here a long time. And I want the township to do well. I want it to be financially stable. I want it to be well run. And from what I understand, always through these meetings, the responsible people are doing the best they can to get the best deal, contract, or contracts, whatever you want to call them, for all of us, all 13,000 population of this township, 8,000 homesteads. Please keep that in mind, okay?
What's his name? There's so
Thanks, Paul. Is there anyone else?
Bob Paul.
Dave?
Real quick, I just have a couple things. I don't anticipate taking the full 3 minutes. Number one, really quick, just to answer, your question, Bob, respectfully, why people don't show up. I can tell you as a resident why exactly they don't show up. Because decades of politics in Elizabeth Township, we know our voices fall on deaf ears. That's why a couple other things that I want to go over. Number one, I did hear a lot of residents tonight talking about truck traffic from Huntley and Huntley. And I was just curious why Huntley and Huntley has been allowed to start oil and gas development without having a signed roadway maintenance agreement. Part of the current ordinance 607B subsection 6. In our ordinance states that they are not to conduct any oil and gas development activity until there is a signed roadway maintenance agreement. I did file a right to know for a roadway maintenance agreement, and it doesn't exist. So just to answer everybody's question, as far as having problems with the trucks, they shouldn't be having those problems because nothing should be happening right now. Really quick, last item is, suggestions for oil and gas ordinance. A lot of them were already stated, but the one that wasn't stated is actually a 10-year master plan. I noticed tonight on your agenda you are going over, wanting to create a new comprehensive plan. I don't know how you expect to create a new comprehensive plan and do it effectively, setting land aside for future growth of Elizabeth Township if a well pad can pop up on that land at any point in time. So it would make sense in the planning process and going through to actually plan for future growth. If you were to put a 10-year master plan and look at the entire 10-year build out from Huntley and Huntley or any other gas drillers before you spend the taxpayer money to create the plan to begin with.
You gonna be involved in that?
Sure. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I know this is a tough meeting. It's really- So that concludes our citizens to address agenda items.
Yeah, just one quick question.
Okay.
25 million for cemetery, is that just only they come, they happen to our system?
Yeah.
Say they just come in with their happen to our system.
Yeah, it's actually, the way it's drafted is, we have to run, the contingency, is we have to run a line to the edge of their property. So it doesn't mention us having it.
How's everything with you?
Run the line to make it accessible.
Okay.
You have to put the line.
Yeah, we don't put the line in 25.
You have to put the line in.
But you say we don't, 25 is something.
If we don't put the line in, that's the breach of the agreement.
Okay, we're gonna go on to item number 1. Motion to ratify the approval of the general fund bill warrant dated February 18th, 2019, in the amount of $281,562.29.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call vote.
Commissioner Simolo?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles? Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Kizner?
Yes. Motion to ratify the approval of the sanitary fund bill warrant dated February 18th, 2019, in the amount of $113,923.92.
So moved.
Second.
Good scene.
I saw a $32,000 invoice from Marcus and Shapiro. That was for the Eastwood meeting that you guys had.
Yeah, it's for all the pending litigation. All of it. I mean, we're litigating it right
Status
now.
update of that?
No, but I'll certainly reach out to Dawn and Jeremy.
And how much more is it gonna cost us for legal?
Depends on how the case goes. I mean, obviously, like any litigation, I don't want to get.
Are they in litigation?
Oh, yeah.
You are in litigation?
We are, oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately.
I still think we should talk to them about it.
That is all. We can discuss, yeah. Executive session. We can talk.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, so I'll ask for a roll call.
Commissioner Simolo?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles? Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
President Kizner?
Yes. Motion to approve the general fund bill warrant dated March 4th, 2019, in the amount of $197,733.46.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call vote.
Commissioner Simolo?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles? Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
President Kizner?
Yes. Motion to approve the sanitary fund bill warrant dated March 4th, 2019, in the amount of $77,463.12.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call vote.
Commissioner Simolo? Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles? Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
President Kizner?
Yes. Motion to approve Commissioners' meeting minutes dated December 20th, 2018, and February 4th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion to approve sanitary bond requisition number 65 in the amount of $3,387.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simolo?
Yes.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles?
Yes.
Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
President Kizner?
Yes. Motion to approve letter of intent for local government services manager mentorship program through the DCED.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion to advertise request for proposals / qualifications for the development of the township comprehensive plan.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion to advertise to accept letters of interest for a comprehensive plan committee.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion to ratify the advertising of the proposed oil and gas amendment is required by the municipal planning code.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We don't, one opposed. Motion to approve / deny the amended oil and gas ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Is that to approve or deny?
To approve.
Okay. Question on the motion?
Yes, that still does not change the setback.
It does, it increases the setbacks.
1,500.
No, to 750 from
Why are
500.
we going to 1,500?
We are for schools, there's certain ones that do. That's what the way it's proposed is for 750 and 1,500 from schools.
We'll do a roll call.
I don't understand the reasoning by not making it 1,500. I'd rather be safe than sorry.
She's seconded.
Commissioner Simula,
No.
Commissioner Watt,
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles, Commissioner Blake,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick.
Yes.
President Kuzma.
Yes.
Just one comment, I mean, an ordinance can always be changed, so you can, this goes from one setback to an increased setback. If you want to increase it further, you're certainly not prohibited.
I've been wanting to increase.
Yeah, you're certainly not prohibited from doing that, I'm just saying, this takes it and does increase it, but if you don't think that's enough, then you certainly have the right to do more.
Motion to approve the easement agreement with Hex.
So moved.
I'll second. Question on the motion? I do a roll call for this.
Commissioner Simula,
Yes.
Commissioner Watt,
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles, Commissioner Blake,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick.
Yes.
President Kuzma.
Yes. Motion to approve the reimbursement agreement with Hex to repair culvert on Fallen Timber Road.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula,
Yes.
Commissioner Watt,
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles, Commissioner Blake,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick.
Yes.
President Kuzma.
Yes. Motion to direct KLH engineers to prepare the necessary documents for the Fallen Timber culvert repairs.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula,
Yes.
Commissioner Watt.
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles. Yes. Commissioner Blake,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick.
Yes.
President Kuzma.
Yes. Motion to ratify the approval of the construction hours labor request from Huntley and Huntley.
I think we need to be a little more specific in defining. Because at first, I was totally opposed to this, but I've learned differently. So let's explain it again.
Yeah, this is for the board, yeah, this is for the board that's under the road, they're hoping not to need the waiver, but if they need to go past, they can't stop the board, so they have to complete the board once they start the process.
It's temporary, when the
It's
boring's done, this goes.
Correct.
So you know what, how about this, can I amend the motion to, I'll make it and I'll amend it to, be contingent that it's only used for boring underneath the road, nothing else.
I'll second that as well.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, question, roll call.
Commissioner Simula,
Yes.
Commissioner Watt.
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles, Commissioner Blake,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick.
Yes.
President Kuzma.
Yes. Motion to approve the campus subdivision plan, a lot line revision is recommended by the planning commission.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion to reapprove the Nathan Blum consolidation plan, the previously approved plan is recommended by the planning commission.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion to approve the conditional use application of James Lazinski for a single-family home in a riverfront conservation district. I'll make the motion to approve that.
So moved.
Question on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion to approve pay application number 3 to Plowcheck Construction, the amount of $20,157.50 for work on the Schweitzer Road retaining wall project.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion?
Just a clarification, this is with, grant money that was obtained with the grant, CITF grant from Senator Brewster's office.
Okay. Roll call?
Commissioner Simula.
Yes.
Commissioner Watt.
Yes.
Commissioner Beckles.
approve payment in the amount of $1,200 to X32 Temple Canine Training LLC for 2019 police canine maintenance training to be paid from the general fund.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion?
One question. Is it gonna come out of the canine fund?
There's been some dispute between the canine committee and the township, and as of right now, there's $5,000 budgeted in the canine line item budget in the police. But we're gonna be meeting with the canine committee this week to see what they paid for, what we paid for. I don't think we have any agreement with them. It's been an ongoing mess, and I agree with you that we need some sort of clarification. At the same time, these people are out selling tickets and t-shirts and everything. I don't wanna ruin a relationship with them, but I do wanna meet with them and clarify. Roll call?
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwith? Yes. Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to advertise RFP for towing services.
So moved.
I'll second it. Question on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion to approve resolution 2019-5 adopting the 2019 fee schedule.
So moved.
Second. Question on the motion? I'll do a roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwith? Yes. Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to approve donation in the amount of $300 to Gaston Vegas, VFW Post 7632 for their annual Memorial Day ceremonies as done in years past.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwith? Yes. Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to approve extension of agreement for a school resource officer to June 30th, 2019.
So moved. Second.
We get grants for this.
Not for this anymore, yeah, that grant ran out.
They applied for another grant, they did get a smaller grant.
But we did get, I thought we.
Yeah, there was a first grant that still, when the program started,
Still a
but
good program.
yeah, they did get another grant to actually supplement the program also.
Okay, question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula? Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwith? Yes. Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to approve the Decor Developers Agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Number 6 and number 27, I'm gonna strike. And we're gonna go to 28, motion to direct the solicitor to separately invoice for all AEC matters subject to full reimbursement pursuant to the terms of the host agreement.
So moved.
Second. Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwith?
Yes.
Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Motion to purchase and install backflow valve at 200 Long Street contingent on execution of liability release agreement and registration of the ACHT.
So moved.
Second.
Question on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Simula?
Yes.
Commissioner Wong?
Yeah.
Commissioner Beckwith? Yes. Commissioner Blake?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
President Kuzma?
Yes. Anything else for the good of the township? Motion?
I promise to get that.
Okay.
I was hoping somebody else would have brought it up tonight. What's going on with the township property in Horseshoe Bend on Blythe Road?
What's going on with this? Jake, you want to answer that? Horseshoe?
The Horseshoe Bend, Blythe Road, why is there a road cut down in there with a turnaround, like it's gonna be a dump site for something?
It is gonna be a dump site, we paid for that dump site, we got permits for it, and that's gonna be clean field going in there. And, we need drainage in there, we're gonna be in compliance with our, DEP.
Okay, that all has been permitted already? I know you guys were in the process of it, but I was not aware that that was in place yet.
And it's gonna be the township owned, the dump site's really full. It really scares the fire.
Oh, I agree. Don't disagree. And I just know that there's also a storm sewer pipe that comes out of there, and I would hope you guys investigate that.
look better than what it ever did before.
That's gonna be clean.
All right, motion adjourned.
Wait a minute.
We only do one thing, motion adjourned. I'll make a motion. All in favor, aye.